My earliest memory was waking up, my father missing from our bed. I asked my mom where he was, and she touched my cheek, wrapped my hair behind my ear, and told me he was in prison. Her voice so cold I wasn't even sure it was hers. She felt far away, lost, and even though I was young, it left a really hard impression on me. This was the first hard truth of many. My father spent the first few years of my life in and out of jail, the rest of his time spent partaking in criminal activities or overindulging in legal ones. Whether it was alcohol, drugs, gambling, smoking, stealing, they were all ruining his life and consequently mine. Alcohol is a $475 billion industry for the economy, lending to $110 billion for wages and approximately $35 billion for rehabilitation costs. If we compare these numbers to how we deal with drug and alcohol addiction, we spend about $9.4 billion on incarceration and law enforcement, while we spend a disparagingly $1.3 billion on drug prevention. When I was young, I vowed to never drink alcohol. When I watched adults around me consume alcohol, it seemed like they would have one beer, one glass of wine, one shot, and they wouldn't be the same loving, intelligent, safe person I thought they just were. In reality, they were having dozens of drinks so quickly that I didn't even see them on their downhill spiral. When I went to drink for the first time at 18, I was terrified. Anytime I saw a friend was drinking or heard friends were drinking, I felt alienated from them, assuming they would turn into the monsters my family had. The first time I drank, even though I was surrounded by my friends, I ended up not understanding and drinking way too much, wanting to turn it off as soon as it began and not understanding the components of this drug I had just taken, even though I was very well educated on the subject. I knew that kids experimented, and that it wasn't morally wrong for me to do so. But I felt my fear boil over and turn into self-hatred for something that 7.7 million underage people had done the year prior. I started to hate myself and hate those around me, until I found counseling and friends who shared the same background. Those honest and open conversations were the words I needed to start healing, start repairing the damaged belief systems that I had unknowingly created. In this country, we see drugs on a scale of different schedules. Schedule 1 being drugs like LSD, heroin, marijuana, bath salts, ecstasy. Schedule 2 drugs being drugs like OxyContin, morphine, codeine, Demerol, methadone. The list goes on all the way up to Schedule 5 type drugs. This classification is created based on these drugs' supposed addictive potential. What isn't on these lists? Alcohol and tobacco, but they are also considered drugs. In this country, we have a strange perception on drugs in general. Alcohol and tobacco were legalized long ago on the federal level, but now we're seeing marijuana, a Schedule 1 drug, being legalized because of society's changed impressions. Annually, tobacco costs society a whopping $300 billion a year. Alcohol following suit at $249 billion per year. If we compare these numbers to the earnings before, the government still ends up on top, with most money being earned by incarceration and rehabilitation efforts for those addicted to substances like alcohol and legal painkillers. If the US government put even quadruple the amount of money they are putting in now towards the education and knowledge of drug and alcohol abuse, they would still be making money. It's time for a change. If the government can't change, then we must step up to the plate. We need to have more honest and open communication with not only ourselves, but our friends, our families, and even our future children. We need to have an open dialogue because the numbers show that even when legal or illegal, people experiment. People want to know for themselves, and we should talk about the consequences, feelings, and reasons behind these substances and decisions, no matter what they are, before it's too late.